Actually know a DJ who can also is a JP that can actually knight you as a Jedi. Real life.
Okay. See, my problem with that is the real life part and then the legal part. Like there's some sort of governing body that's like, that's a Jedi and that's just a guy with a hat. Welcome to Business Audit. My name's Roy Seraphin. I'm a wedding photographer out of Orlando, Florida. And today I'm hanging out with my friend TJ. TJ, what's going on, man?
Hey, how we doing, bud?
Not bad. So give me your name, age, and location of your business before we get started, so people know kind of what you're doing.
Certainly. So name is TJ Ladzinski, or Tadius Ladzinski if you want to get formal about it. My business is Ladman Studios. I'm out of Brooklyn, Connecticut as a wedding photographer, and I am turning 40 next month.
Nice. Okay, cool. How many years have you been doing wedding photography?
2 years wedding photography. The year before that was portrait photography just to get into it, and then before I decided to do weddings. So 3 years total.
3 years total. Cool. Are we doing this full-time or are we doing this part-time?
Part-time, more like side hustle, I guess, because of even part-time is kind of like hard these days.
And that's because we have a regular job in addition to the wedding business? That
is correct. Yeah, I have a full-time 40-hour-a-week regular job, and then it's this on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, mostly Saturdays, Sundays, late nights kind of stuff. But yeah.
Cool. All right. So give me an idea, like types of weddings that you're looking to grab.
Like ideal client kind of thing.
Like what are you excited to shoot? So is it elopements? Is it weddings? Is it?
Oh yeah. So I mean, like
a couple that owns a DeLorean.
Yes. And I better be driving it first. Yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, traditional is kind of like one of those words I don't like when people throw it around, like, oh, traditional, because I mean, like, people can be nerdy and geeky and like fun as shit and still have like a quote unquote traditional wedding. It just isn't as traditional as you think it is. So for me, it's like, yeah, traditional is fine. Elopements are fine. Geeky, nerdy shit, 100% all day, every day. I mean, people that want to go full in on the Star Wars theme, I'll be there. Actually looked at getting turned into a JP that can make you a Jedi Knight, because that would be pretty sweet to do in an elopement thing where you can make the couple of Jedi. So that'd be pretty sweet. But yeah.
Like legally make
legally can make you a Jedi. Yeah, who can also is a JP that can actually knight you as a Jedi. Real life.
Okay. See, my problem with that is the real life part and then the legal part. Like there's some sort of governing body that's like, that's a Jedi and that's just a guy with a hat. Okay. That's interesting. We'll dive into that later. But starting price and then average booking once you actually get that starting price sold.
Starting price right now is $3,700. And average price right now I'm averaging is like $5,700. So,
okay, it's not bad. And then leads in a year, right now.
Leads in a year right now, 3.
Like a guesstimate.
3
for the whole year.
The whole year. And
then what's your actual goal for the year?
10 or more. 10's like, okay, 10's good. And then if more happens, great. That's fine too. Just because of the whole, like, it's part-time thing. I can't afford you to like put the whole regular thing on hold just to go full-time into photography, So 10 I thought was a pretty good number to be like, okay, I could probably handle 10 and still, second shoot if I want to do throughout the year and things like that. But 10 would be like doable as a part-time,
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. That's a solid number, especially as somebody who like has a full-time job and a family and all the other stuff kind of going on.
Yep.
What do you think is currently stopping you from getting to that 10 goal?
Probably not knowing what to prioritize in terms of time. I used to have, even when I had the full-time job that I have now, my hours changed recently. So I used to be from 10 in the morning to 6 at night, and I had a few hours in the morning to do things, and then a few hours at night, kids, family, go to bed, and then it'll be a few more hours, then, go to bed and wake up and do it all over again the next day. And now it's a little bit more where it's 8 to 4, but it's really more like 7 to 6 sometimes. So like that whole window's just gone of extra. And it's like, hang out with the family, do family things. They all go to bed. Then I get like maybe a few hours at night, and then it's go to bed, do it all over again. So even then trying to figure out, okay, I have like less than a hand countings worth of time a day, Monday through Friday, where I can try to get something done, and trying to prioritize, all right, what should I be working on today, this week, maybe this month as a goal, that is going to help me get more leads, more, into the game, so to say. Because usually what happens is, and I have ADHD, just like 99% of everybody else does, it's like, oh, what am I going to do today? And then I spent all the time I had to think about what I was going to do today to do something on what the hell I was going to do, and then repeat the process every other day. So
No, that makes perfect sense. So like with that job, just so I get like a really clear picture, are we working a full 40 or is it like you're working almost 70 and you're trying to fit in a side business?
Yeah,
on
it's
top
more
of
like
it?
60 with a side business on the side.
Ooh, okay. All right. So
My dilemma.
yeah,
But here's the thing, it's not always like that. It has weeks where it's like I could just be doing 40, and then there's weeks where it's like, shit, you're doing 80. Like it's so variable.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's going to be like the main problem we're going to be running into is like in a business, you have two options. You're going to pay for results one way or the other. And some people don't understand this concept, but here it is. You are either going to pay in time or you are going to pay in having other people do stuff for you. In situations like yours, often it makes more sense, at least while you're trying to get the side hustle going, because you can't be consistent with your time. It makes more sense to be like, okay, I'm going to outsource whatever I can possibly outsource so that stuff is still getting done and you look consistent in your business, even though genuinely you just don't have the time to do it. But the time that you do have can now be like, instead of writing maybe entire articles or editing videos or setting yourself up for events and kind of doing the whole thing for it, now you're just doing checks and balances. So you kind of have an employee underneath it. The problem becomes if the business isn't making enough money and you don't know when it's going to make enough money to cover that person coming in, that's where you're like, great, what am I supposed to do with this?
Exactly.
So with that crazy schedule, like give me like some sort of average where it's like I can guarantee I can pretty much spend this much time in my business over a week.
Over a week, I could probably, let's see, 10 hours Monday through Friday, definitely. That's at least 2 hours, and I can probably make that work most of the time. But then when I'm, depending if I got a second shoot or an actual wedding on a weekend, that's when it gets a little different. Than that weekend's pretty much shot. Like I did 2 back-to-back second shoots this past weekend. I took Friday off of work, and then so I had that covered so I could do that shoot. Then I did one Saturday. Then Sunday was like, well, I need to recover, so nothing's getting done today because I was just absolutely fried. But so yeah, I mean, I can definitely do 10. 10 is a definite number, and anything after that is like, great, I have extra. Because usually the weekends are spent, doing editing or doing something like that. So,
okay, that gives me actually a pretty good kind of clear picture of what we need to do. But I'm gonna ask this question anyway because I like this question. Rate your work-life balance on a scale of like 1 to 10. 10 being awesome.
Like honestly, probably like a 6. I'd say 6. 6.
Okay.
6 is a good,
solid
good number because, like I said, like I do my best to not overwork myself. I used to do that a lot, where I would just be like, nope, it's full send, digging myself into the grave, and we're gonna stay up till 3 in the morning and wake up at 5. Nice. And I don't do that no more, so that's good. But I'm usually pretty good at like, okay, bedtime is 11, hard stop, whatever it is I'm doing. Nah, I'm going to bed at 11, midnight at the latest. The latest. I refuse to stay up past midnight anymore. So. Especially with having to get up early in the morning with the kiddos at like 6 a.m. and then also work at 8, so I'm up at 6 anyway. So there's that.
Yeah, you gotta have some time to sleep.
6. 6 is pretty good. I mean, I might even say 7, just because I don't know, because it's really just work all day, regular stuff, regular schedule in the morning, work, hang out with the wife, the kids, dinner, they go to bed. Then it's like, okay, now I have some time to work on business stuff or whatever. And then, like I said, usually I'm in bed by like 11 midnight, the latest. So I would, maybe a 7.
Okay, a 7's not bad. I mean, if we're looking at where your business is at, I mean, like again, if you want it to grow, even a side hustle, I usually tell people like, so you need like 20 hours a week of some sort. You're gonna have to do something like that. Now, obviously, for you, that's probably not gonna be possible. We're not gonna be able to we can't pull time out of nothing.
Right.
And so the challenge is okay, we have 10 hours and we need 20 hours of effort to come out of the 10 hours. So how do we kind of narrow this down? So what are you currently doing in your business to produce leads that will actually come towards you?
Sure. So I've never touched ads. I had touched ads very early on with like Google ads when I was running back when I was like doing Thumbtack and stuff like that. I had an ad that was costing me like maybe $50 a month, and I'd be like, yo, just run this and here's some, I guess, targeting, whatever. Then you really get anything. I'd get clicks, sure, but no like inquiries from it or anything. It was kind of like I didn't know what I was doing at all. So I was like, yeah, sure, ads, Google, yay. And then I stopped that once. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with that yet. I'm pretty sure I'm doing it wrong. So no wasting money. So then mostly what I do now is I do blog writing. on anything I can find to do any kind of like authoritative stuff around wedding photography that'll at least give me content that I might be able to post on Facebook or on Instagram and say, hey, here's this. I do a lot of vendor write-up blogs where I'll contact the vendor and say, hey, I'd like to come down, feature you in a blog, write up a thing. And I just did one the other day. I have to spit it out this week. So that's another one that I have on the burner going there. I've done a lot of those recently, which has gotten me a lot of traction on things like Facebook and Instagram wise, but not a lot of leads coming in yet. Only because the way I see it is if I'm doing that stuff this year, I probably won't see turnaround to that until the next year when people are looking to book, at the end of this year towards next year or something like that. That's probably when that might, kick in. The one thing I did do that helped out a little bit was I actually made an Instagram handle that wasn't a part of like the studio, so to speak. It's not like Ladman Studios, the Instagram channel, handle, I should say. It was Connecticut wedding Connecticut wedding venues. And all I do is I post my blogs on there that I talk about wedding venues, or I find like an article online that talks about one, like, yo, check out this one. This one's cool. And when I started doing that, I started having vendors like accidentally tag me in their posts because they thought they were doing like hashtag Connecticut wedding venues and they were adding. And I'm like, oh, who's this venue? Oh, I didn't know you existed. Cool. Let me slide in your DMs real quick. And I'd be like, yo, let's meet up sometime. Like, hell yeah, let's do that. So that was actually a real cool, like accidental thing that happened Instagram wise, where I've gotten a lot of things to go talk to people about through that. At least for like, vendor relationship building wise. But outside of that, like I said, I don't run ads like at all. I do some networking stuff. Like there's a few meetings that are coming up that I'm going to. I do a local rising tide society, things like that. And I've reached out to a few people, that I second for often, and might be becoming part of their like team. So I can network there that way too for next year and things like that. So, but in terms of like lead generation, paying for ads and anything outside of that, I haven't touched it.
Okay. And then, so if, let's say you don't meet your goals this year with you're not getting let's say you don't get the 10 leads.
Sure.
Is that going to cause you to shut the business down next year? Or are you okay with second shooting for the remainder of this year and just building content?
No, honestly, the more I've been thinking about it, it's like that wouldn't be a deal breaker to me if I didn't hit the 10, right? Because even right now with the little that comes in, like I had one wedding I've already done this year and I've got one on the books for next year. And all my second shooting stuff, I try to use that second shooting money that comes in to, fund into the business and things like that. I'm actually, for the amount of gear I've acquired in 3 years, I've actually almost paid off all of the debt that I've accumulated in the 3 years with just second shooting and whatever weddings have come my way. I've almost got like literally no debt. My cost of like running the business, like once that's all done, is like $150 a month. Like that's it. It's bare minimum.
Okay.
So I've gotten like literally almost everything taken care of, where it's the fact it's like I'm good. I'm like, it cost me $150 out of pocket. Okay, that's fine. I can swing that. So it's like, even if I don't hit those numbers right now, I'm okay with that, because I'm at a point now, or I should say I'm not at a point where it's so much work, or it's so over the point where it's like, okay, this is no longer part-time. This is running into full-time territory now that I have to run things differently to make sure things keep running. It's still kind of new. So it's in that new phase. So even if I just even if I just only did like 5 weddings a year and I second shot the rest of the year, I'd be okay with that, to be honest. So 10's a good number, but it's like, even if I just did 5 weddings of my own throughout the year and I just second shot a bunch to build those relationships, meet other people, and just network and have fun, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, that might be your better bet right now, because it sounds like, I mean, again, you're kind of newer in the business and you've switched from, you were doing portraits before, then you switched into doing weddings. It's you probably don't have enough content with people in it. Like we go to these venue tours, right? And we have all these pictures of empty venues. And I will tell you, I've done all the tests you could possibly do on conversion. If you have a couple in the photo with a venue in it, you're going to convert better. You're going to get those leads coming through, because now people are seeing you as not just the venue guy who takes pictures of empty buildings and it makes you look like an architectural photographer. Now you're the guy that can put couples in those buildings. Yep. And so for you, I'm curious, like, how do you feel like your portfolio is for the client you're trying to attract?
Sucks. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Okay. Not that the pictures suck and they're like, oh, they're overexposed, or it's not good this, or they don't tell a good story that. They don't target the people I want to photograph at weddings, like nerdy bullshit, anything like that. Lightsabers left and right. I mean, I bought lightsabers to use, to have my couples use, just haven't anybody asked to use them yet, even though they know I have them, things like that. Like, I haven't done any kind of styled shoots where it's just me, and it's not a styled shoot I go to where it's like, cool, somebody else set this up and I took some photos. Neat. It was nothing I wanted to do anyway, but I needed the portfolio work at the time. I haven't done anything that's going to get the images that are like, yo, this is what I want to do, so this is what we're doing, and then showcase that. I haven't had any of that. So my
So
photos
do you
are
feel like
decent. They're just not what I want to shoot.
do you feel like that's actually having that's the impact that's kind of stopping you from getting those clients you want? Like you're just not showing off what you're actually trying to market for. So all your copy says the things that would fit with that couple, but you have none of the work that backs that up.
Yeah, I would say that's like 80% of the battle, to be honest. It's not that the website doesn't get traffic through blogs, because like, I mean, you've seen some of my blogs that are like #1 in my state for like the type of venues I want to be at. So that's not the problem. They get some clicks, but I have a feeling that some people are going through and then they see those and they click on my website and like, oh, look, just another dead average shooter guy. Cool. Neat. Next. The copy is great, but I don't see the photos that I can see myself in, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, if that's the case, then I would say, and we'll talk a little bit about blogs here in a minute too, because I said something that I want to address as well. But I personally like where you're at in your business, because you don't necessarily need to make that big goal yet. And you've done a lot of blog writing. You've done a lot of like all the things you're supposed to do and supposed to be networking. What I want you to do is instead start focusing on, all right, how do we build this portfolio up within that year? It doesn't have to be through weddings. I think you're going to build that through second shooting. You're going to get those real natural moments through second shooting. But for you right now and the unique situation that's in your business, my focus would be to create those styled shoots, engagement sessions, whatever you want to call them, where you are able to create the thing that's in your head. You're actually able to show off, okay, this is the Ladman Studios version of the photos that I'm trying to show off. These are the things that I want to talk about. And yeah, those will probably include candids, which again, the second shooting it's gonna cover that. And it's probably gonna cover a lot of those photos that you need for the venue post, so you can start, throwing couples in here and there as long as the other photographer's okay with it to get that traction back. But for you right now, you should be going out and creating something. If you want to do Star Wars weddings, start creating content around Star Wars weddings. And then I know you're working on a blog post for that, I'm assuming, right? So once you have actual content with the Star Wars stuff, that blog is going to go 10 or 15 times harder, because I know you as a photographer, I've looked over your website, and guys, if you're curious, it's ladmanstudios.com. You can see his work. He's being a little rough on his own work at the moment. It's good stuff. If you actually had the time,
I'm always my own worst enemy, dude.
Every great photographer is. I mean, I still I've been in books and I've been featured everywhere. I've won awards and I'm still like, no, I'm okay. Like, it's fine.
You're the same. I'm like, I'm like,
I'm all right. So what I think you should do is like, okay, create that one session that you just really, really want to create. And then I'm going to recommend you do the thing where you don't grab a couple who's just like a model and can get photos any time of the week they want. I would look for somebody who had a wedding that wanted to include these things, but maybe it wasn't in budget. And I would just see, like, you can do this through Facebook groups. Look for somebody who just doesn't mean they had a terrible wedding. It doesn't mean that the wedding was bad, but like there were just things that they wanted to do, or maybe they wanted to include that they didn't because family said they shouldn't do that, because an aunt said no, because mom and dad were paying for it. And mom said, I'm sorry, lightsabers are stupid. Whatever
stupid.
That's going to be. Exactly. So I mean, at the very least, I'd be doing that. And then with your own, like, you can do like detail shots and stuff that's gonna speak to a couple like that with your own rings. Like, you're talking about couples who are doing sessions with you now who and by the way, when we're talking about leads, for the most part, we're just talking about weddings, right? You're still kind of doing portraits here and there.
I mean, yeah, but like at the weddings, not like I haven't set up anything like engagement giveaways or like anything like that or nothing.
Yeah, and I think the traditional method of doing engagement giveaways are not like that's not the route I would tell you to go. At this point, I think that's not likely going to return your results. But what I was getting to is like, you can take the stuff that you have, and you can take your wedding rings with you and your wife, and you can get those like, hey, this is what the concept is in my head. Let me show you what that looks like. And then you can kind of create like a series of content that would go around it, right? You can go, okay, this is what the Star Wars shoot's going to look like. There's content around not just content that would attract a couple that's not just the shoot itself, but there's the process of how am I going to create the Star Wars shoot, and what does this look like in my head, and where is this going to happen? And I think for you, documenting that process, getting it up there, because you've got the skills to do so, throwing that on your Instagram page, maybe even on your venue page that's actually getting traction, and being like, look, I'm looking for a venue that's going to do this. I'm looking at these specific venues because I think in my head I can turn these into Star Wars types of venues. And then looking for the couple from that point on, after you're in the process of planning, and even documenting that as well. That's going to give you that traction and that like, okay, this guy's really creative. This guy's passionate about what he does. That can start building up that portfolio to start attracting people who are interested in those things. And then the other thing, I mean, that's going to be hard for you is FaceTime. You're just going to have to make some more FaceTime with people, because you can write and write and write and write, but if you're not getting weddings to fill up what that content's going to be, eventually we're going to be recycling couples and the work's going to start to look stale and you're going to start to feel discouraged. And that's just kind of what happens. So if I had the limitations that you do, I'd still be writing blogs, but I would be avoiding. You said you like to do some things that are just straight up for authority, right? And that can be a good strategy, but you don't need authority at the moment. You need local authority at the moment. So whatever traction you can get that's local is like where I'd be at. I wouldn't be focusing on like, a lot of photographers go, well, I'll write a blog about why you should have a first look. Myself included, I did the same thing. And the thing is that once you write for terms like that, right, the volume is really high. The difficulty is also really high. And everyone on that first page, this is something that people don't know to look at, but when you're looking at the first page competition, you need to look and see how many backlinks they have. If you use a tool like SEMrush, it'll show you that they have, how many backlinks each page on page one has. If everyone on that back page has 2,000 backlinks and you're writing a piece of content and you only have 6, you're not going to rank to that first page. I don't care what that term is. You're just not going to beat it. You're not going to beat out brides.com. You're not going to beat out the Knot. You're not going to beat out those websites. It's a part of that process. So for you, what I'd be like doing is for Connecticut, like things to do in Connecticut, and like try and show how to do date nights in Connecticut, different types of engagement sessions in Connecticut. And I know Connecticut weather is not that great. I know that for a fact. I've heard all the complaints. I've even seen my buddy Chris talk about it like a lot. And so here's the
Chris
thing.
Is good people.
He's great people. I love Chris. But here's the thing, right? What about what to do when the weather sucks for your engagement session? What about the people who are looking to go in those bigger cities that are nearby you? Because I know, maybe you don't have a ton of traffic for your specific location, but you're willing to make that drive. If you're willing to make that drive, what are those main blogs that you need to be hitting in those cities to at least get people who are definitely interested in specifically what you do? Because your time is so finite, if it's not directly related to photography and it's not something you can turn into being related to photography, right? Like things to do for couples over the weekend, then what you need to do is focus on just those things. Stop trying to be an authority figure and trying to change the industry, because that's more beneficial for somebody like me who's also educating, who's also doing like really big things. Like, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it because you're not me. I'm saying right now that shouldn't be your priority. It's kind of a waste of your time.
Okay. Look
for those local things that you can connect with and then focus on your really big goal. You have been talking about getting a Star Wars wedding blog up, I think, since I've known you for the most part.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
I have all of it like sketched out and all that kind of stuff. I just don't have content to put in it.
Well, you have lightsabers and stuff. Like, it's put a filler image in. Don't let not having images be the reason that doesn't get up, because you can change images over time. So like, let's say you get that thing up, you got that article up, and then you just go, okay, now I'm going to go plan the session. I'm going to replace all these images in. And now here's the cool thing, right? When we go and plan that session, that redemption session for the couple that didn't have a great wedding. And I'll even dive into why I think that's a better way of doing it in a second here. But you now know what photos you need because you have that map. So instead of being like gung-ho when you're trying to write a blog and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to need, now you've written the entire article, you have the outline done, and so you know what photos are going to be best served for this. You might even know whether you need a vertical or horizontal to get something done. So my recommendation is just, okay, go get that local stuff, go get the stuff that's in the nearby cities that you're willing to write, that you're willing to drive to. I don't care if it's Boston. Every city I have ever looked at on Google search or whatever always has missing stuff. It's got stuff that other photographers aren't touching. Look for that stuff and then see what you can't use for it. And don't forget that you can go outside of your niche as well. Like when we're looking at just typing wedding stuff, you can still write stuff like, wedding, like I got a buddy who gets a ton of traffic off of an article he wrote about Jewish wedding traditions and Mexican wedding traditions and Spanish wedding traditions and even Canadian. Like I've seen all those kind of things where they're getting a ton of traffic from those. And that's really great if you already have that content, because you can just throw images in for all those. That does still give you something if you're going to dive into that realm of things. But for you, you're not in a position where that matters.
Right.
You need to be doing like proposal locations, engagement locations, the wedding venue guide, like these are the most unique wedding venues in this state. This is the most unique wedding venues in Boston, those kind of things. And then go get content for those things with people in them. So I would be taking a look at my already written, because you already have all these written, like your dream wedding venues, and then start creating some sort of strategy to get some kind of content there. I don't care if it's from engagement sessions or weddings. just get some people in those photos, and it's going to help you kind of convert them on those blogs. And then outside of that, because you don't have a ton of time, if you don't have time to write those articles, then you need to outsource for those. You need to just bite the bullet and pay someone else to do them while you work on everything else, because you have 10 hours a week, which means in order to get something that one person could accomplish in a normal business where they have 40 hours, it's going to take you a month to do the same amount of time.
Yeah.
So if
my
you have
problem with that is
12 tasks,
that's a lot in my head too, where I know if I tell someone else to do it, I'm going to be like, listen, it ain't going to be how I would have done it, and I'm going to have to do it anyway. So I just don't. And I'm like, I just do it myself. I don't know how to get past that wall.
But you won't. Well, this is the thing. Let's be honest. You're not going to do it. In your head, you're like, I'm going to do it myself as soon as I get it. Fine. Get what they have, make adjustments to it, because that's still a quarter of the amount of time that you would spend writing it yourself or creating it yourself, whatever that's going to be. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense for you to sit there and go, well, this is a reason for me to not create action because it's not me doing it. You need to let that go. You're a business owner. This is the thing. We are artists. I understand photographers think that they're all artists, and they are. They create art. Your business is not an art. Your business is something that you need to be spending the time to go and saying, you know what? I can outsource this. This is part of this is part of being a business owner. I need to be focusing on the things that actually make the needle move. And if I need help getting those steps done, that's called being a good business person. Having someone go through and maybe they're writing content for you, or maybe they're helping you with editing. Like maybe you recorded a quick YouTube video of some sort or short or whatever, and you need someone to go through and edit it. It doesn't matter if it's your style. You just need to get it done. And then if you feel like it needs editing, then you'll know where the changes need to be made.
That's true.
So that's where I just get that out of your head. I mean, you know what the problem is, so then just stop allowing it to be the problem.
Agreed.
If you're willing to invest in it.
Oh, yeah.
And that doesn't mean you have to invest crazy amounts of money either.
No. But I mean, I could always take like a second shoot or two and put that to the side and be like, listen, this is for like getting blogs written money or XYZ or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I would 100% be doing as many second shooter gigs as I could, even this year, just again, to keep building this up. And the cool thing about doing second shooter gigs is all right, you're not getting paid the same amount. You're not going to be making, $80,000 a year doing second shooting. However, if you're working with good photographers, they're allowing you to use that work, which is allowing you to get experience that you can also show off on your own website, which means as you're continuously building up that experience, you're becoming more valuable as a photographer because you know how things are going to go. Right now, you've got, I think in your questionnaire here, you said you've done 10 to 25 weddings as a lead.
Yeah.
Well, imagine if you do 100 as a second over like the course of 2 years, you're going to know as much as a lead's going to know. And then you can also lead or associate shoot for other brands where now you're like, okay, I know what to expect. I know what the clients are going to be looking for. I know what kind of images are going to be best to send out to publications and all those things. And that's going to be getting you just a ton of expertise that will help you write those bigger pieces of blog content that you want to write. But the obsession over writing everything you could write in blogs isn't going to help you if you haven't got those basics narrowed out. And I'm telling you, Boston, look at those coastal cities. I promise you'll find even if it's like, where's the best place to have sunset pictures taken along the New England coastline? It's not that far of a drive for you to go to have those sessions taken. And if you're creating incredible work, great. Matter of fact, you could reasonably take your kids out to those coastline spots and take pictures of your kids at those spots and say, these are the spots I would recommend. Look how great my family looks. And then you're getting this like two-edged sword where you're not taking time from your family to work on your business. And instead you're taking time with your family and making it work for your business as well. It's being smarter with your time rather than just kind of guesstimating on everything.
Yeah, I like that.
That's another thing. And then for lead building in general, I would recommend looking for a few local shops that need some help. They need some content. Okay, great examples of this. This is going to be it's not going to be Great Clips. It's going to be a local barber shop that does well. And you need to be looking at a place that does high-end haircuts. Okay, this is not somewhere that you go and you're like a college kid and you pay $20, you get a haircut and it looks like you were attacked by shears. No, you need to find a place where like people with like cash, like guys like I'm just gonna say guys like me will go shop at and go get our haircuts because it's kind of like a relaxation experience. Because then that's going to get you in front of clientele like that. Do the same thing with a salon. And then you're going to want to pair that slot and say, hey, listen, I want to get you guys some content. So I'm going to take some photos of you guys doing the work that you do. If in exchange, you allow me to put maybe an ad of some sort in your shop, some kind of local ad where you're advertising for an engagement session, or you're doing a giveaway. If you're going to do a giveaway, do it that way. You could have the engagement session giveaway in there. And don't be afraid like to do giveaways, even if you're going to end up shooting like friends, even if you're just like, all right, I need to get this content created out for this Star Wars blog, or I need to go get somebody to come to this venue. There are hundreds of photographers with partners that understand the need that you have, and they'll be like, yeah, cool, I'll go model for this. Sure. Why don't we meet up at this day? You check with the venue, get the whole thing set up and do it. It doesn't have to be a full styled shoot where you have the entire wedding venue set up. If you just need a little bit of content, go to the bridal suite, go to the bar, which always looks good. Go to the outdoor spaces that look good at sunset and just get a couple of images from those spaces and then make it like a little hangout with your photographer friends. Those are the things where you're going to get more bang for your buck because your blogs are going to start performing a little bit better and you're going to be getting those sales. You're going to be getting those leads coming in because now people have an idea of what it looks like if they were in that place. That's one of the hardest things that people forget to like look at it. You can use empty spaces as placeholders and it will get you leads eventually. It's going to be a slower pace. But when you have a couple inside of an image at a venue or location, that couple can place themselves inside of that image and go, oh, this is something that I would want. But when there's no people inside of it, they are all the anxiety that someone has before they hire a photographer comes out and they're like, well, I don't know how he's going to capture my hair, or what if I have what if my wedding suit is the wrong color? What if it rains or whatever? They're not going to be able to like get past those insecurities before reaching out to you because you haven't proven to them from that one little touch point that they've seen in your business that you can. Mm-hmm. Not everyone who goes on that business page is going to be looking through every other section of your website.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, that's kind of what I would suggest you start focusing on. Is those couple of things. The first and foremost being just making sure that local content's done. If you're going to write blogs, fine, do it. If you're getting writer's block by doing it, use ChatGPT to help you out, or reach out to me or somebody else. Like, we'll help you get past that point. But don't go crazy in doing and trying to do everything that's related to wedding photography, because you're not in a position where that even makes sense. Your business is not your main priority in life. You've got family, you've got your regular job, and those two things are going to always take more time. And I'm not even suggesting you take time away from them. You just have to adjust how that little bit of sliver of time is being spent. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna quiz you a little bit. What's your go-to plan after this call?
Oh man,
what are you gonna try and do the next week?
Set up some styled shoots. Set up some styled shoots and get some content made.
But what kind of styled shoots? Are we doing styled shoots that are just for like anybody, or are we doing styled shoots that specifically for the brand that you want? As beep couples. Don't spend any time on styled shoots that aren't for you. I don't care. It doesn't matter. We can swear here. It's all good. It's unrealistic to think that I'm going to be able to get you a podcast.
I got to find couples that definitely are down with like just cutting loose and getting fucking wild, to be honest. So, let the nerd flag fly and all that good jazz. So I like that those idea with the redemption sessions for couples that didn't like get to be like their nerdy side at their wedding. I like that. I'm taking that and running with it.
Do it. I mean, the best place to look for those places too is like, you think outside the box. Okay, if I'm into Star Wars, there's a very good chance that I'm also into Reddit. Mm-hmm. I'm probably in one of those fields. And if you go on one of those Star Wars board posts, I guarantee that you're going to find somebody in Connecticut who wanted to have a Star Wars wedding, who didn't get to have one, who would love to hang out with you for an hour in front of your camera and actually get some of those photos back.
Yeah.
I guarantee that person exists.
And the only thing that bothers me about that, like not bothers me, but like a thought thing is like, well, shit, like if this was like not recent, they're not going to have anything they had at their wedding, like their wedding dress and or like, tux or whatever to wear. So I guess it doesn't really matter even if they just dressed up nice enough to be like engagement like photos, you know what I mean? That still like works.
No, you reach out to a dress and tux shop and just say like, hey, this is my idea. This is why I'm writing it. I plan on doing a full blog post about it to show off this work. And I want to make sure that you're labeled as like as the source for this. Would you be okay allowing me to borrow a suit and a dress for this session? Most of the time they're going to be okay with it, especially if you have other partners like planners or florists or whatever that's more established in that area, they can give you access to somebody who'd be interested in it. That's why networking is so important to do in addition to blogging. It's like you can go find somebody who knows somebody who's going to fit with your personality and can be like, no, actually, I know that you don't want to go to Men's Warehouse. And this is just an example in this case. You don't want to go to Men's Warehouse. Instead, there's a small tuck shop on the side. The guy who owns it has a DeLorean and has, a bunch of other Star Wars stuff that they'd love to see. Not that DeLorean's part of that. I just want someone to have a DeLorean. But they have that
Stick
stuff.
around.
So they'd be really into this.
Already coming up. I'll give you a ride.
Listen, I'm there. But that's the thing. They're going to know somebody who's going to be more interested in doing those things, to where like you're not wasting your time or irritating any of the other vendors. Now, that being the case, you may also find that the manager over at Men's Warehouse is like super into this. Is like, yeah, this is the coolest thing ever. Can I come? And that's fine. They come hang out for a little while. But you'll find that like when you're looking to be collaborative and you're looking to create something very unique, you're going to find that those florists, those planners, those coordinators, and everything, they're going to be more interested in it because everyone else is just pitching like, let's do a mock wedding at this particular venue. Let's not make it creative. Whereas you're like, no, I got this really cool idea that's really different and I want to stand out and I want you to be part of it. You're going to get no's, you're going to get yeses, but it's possible. You don't have to worry about them having their wedding shit or anything like that.
See the size of mine? I don't give a shit about my nose. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So I wouldn't let that hinder me. If maybe they don't have their wedding dress. Maybe it's been a couple years they don't fit in their original wedding clothes. Those photos are still going to matter to them. Now it's almost like a vow renewal type thing. And we know that that's not something that people are typically targeting.
Yeah, I know that. That's been something I've wanted to hit in a bit because,
it's stuff that's that's an opportunity there. Don't discount doing something just because it might be hard. It's always worth it. This, for example, what we're doing right now, this whole idea where I was like, I'm just going to give away coaching for people and I'm going to record me doing it. Not exactly the best business decision and not exactly easy, but I'm like, you know what? Let's see what happens. But I think it's going to be good. Same thing should apply with, the styled sessions and the writing that content that actually would be exciting to you. I always tell people, when you're going to write like the best proposal locations and the best engagement locations and even the best wedding venues, don't write that from the perspective of what everyone else wants. Write it from the perspective of what your ideal client would want. And literally you can say things like, I honestly wouldn't shoot at this. I wouldn't pick this venue. So if that's the case, even if it's the most popular venue in the state, get rid of it. Instead, recommend that little hole in the wall that has, I don't know, unique backdrops or is maybe a little bit darker on the inside and you just happen to know how to light it. The places where people aren't hitting other photographers, like where they're not specifically marketing to, is all your opportunity. And for style shoots especially, the newer the venue, the more likelihood that they're going to want to be part of a style shoot because they need content.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They're thirsty for it. They know you have the goods, man. You have the goods for this kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're thirsty for it, dude. Like a lot.
What was the second thing we're going to be focusing on doing inside your business?
No, my head is spinning right now of like ways to make a Star Wars shoot happen. So you just completely fucked that up, and it's all your fault.
All right, you're going to be focusing on creating that. You're going to go ahead. You're going to write. So you're going to focus on whatever local stuff that's related directly to wedding photography that you haven't written about. And you're going to finish writing the Star Wars blog that you already laid out. You already know all the keyword research for. You've already basically written the thing. You just haven't put the words to paper yet.
Pretty much.
And then you're going to keep networking and keep working on these things. Last but not least is you're going to go into local shops, like the high-end barbershops, the high-end salons, the local, like little local dress shops, local suit shops, all that stuff. You're going to go talk to those people and see if you can't collaborate with them in some way where you can mine clients from them while also providing a service from them at the same time. Unless they're jerks. Okay? Unless every single shop owner that you have in here is a jerk.
They get completely ignored.
Right. What I'm saying is, unless they're all jerks.
The jerks that had a new awesome wedding venue that I gave my time to and didn't give me the time of day to write a blog about them. Those kind of people don't make it. Sorry.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. But unless every single shop owner and business in your area is a bunch of jerks, you're going to find somebody who's going to be like, yeah, I would totally collaborate with you. That sounds awesome. Do your research though.
Yeah,
check the reviews first to make sure.
On the local stuff.
Yeah, the more FaceTime you make with people around there, and I don't care if it's like, it could be your kid's soccer team, whatever you got to do. The more people that know that you exist, the more people that know that your business is going to be around. And I'm not saying to rely on word of mouth, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I already do that without even thinking, because my kids play soccer and stuff. So I'm always taking the pictures and then sending them to all the moms on the app we use to talk to everybody to set up games. I'm like, yo, here's the pictures of the kids from this weekend. They're like, oh my God, they're awesome. I'm like, cool, hire me.
Well, I know for a fact that you're using PicTime, so let me tell you what you would do. Inside of PicTime, you can set up a custom banner. Whenever you take pictures of soccer games, don't just take pictures of the kids on your team, also take pictures on the kids that are also on the other team. And then make sure you walk over to the other side, even if you're like a really overzealous soccer parent. Go give them the link too. And then inside of there, create a custom banner that says, when was the last time you had photos done with the person you married? Don't care what game you're at. There's going to be one parent that goes, hey, we haven't done that in a long time. Let me check out his website. And then just have it link right to your website.
I like that.
That's going to give you some kind of word of mouth. And that's the marketing that, like, there's not very many photographers that are going to be doing that kind of stuff.
Nope.
And that's, to quote Jeff Bezos, your margin is my opportunity. That doesn't apply just to prices. That can apply to like where photographers are putting their efforts in.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, this has been Business Audit. I think provided you actually do the work and provided you actually start making these changes and you get a little bit of focus in and you stop being this lone island where you don't ask people for like direct help. Hey, I don't know what to do. ADHD is it's not a solo sport. You need friends.
Yes.
Provided you do that and you start actually finishing things, you start writing your checklists out and finishing those things on the checklist, I think you're going to do okay. You're not in a position where you need this to pay your bills. You're in a position where like you have some time to experiment with it. And I would just do that and then spend your time as wisely as you can. If you think that you're not going to do something just because you don't have time, but it would be really worth it, and you're not willing to outsource it because it wouldn't be you doing it, just let that go. Do the things that you need to do, even if it means hiring a third party to get that stuff done.
Yeah.
Whether that's, my crew for writing blogs, or that is somebody, doing your video editing, someone going through and writing the copy on your website because you feel like maybe it's not hitting home, but I think your copy's pretty good. Whatever that thing is, I would rather have someone... Thank you. That's it. Got a course called Manifest. Links in the description for that, as well as the blogging course and everything else that I do. But as long as you're willing to accept that you're not the end all be all of the business, it's okay to get help. I think you're going to do fine, man. I think you're beating yourself up.
Yeah, I always do, dude. I hate it. I'm my own punching bag, man. What is your take? If I can ask a question. When I was setting up everything initially for like the website and all that kind of stuff, like the local citation shit, I never did any of it. Like, is that something I should dip into just a bit just to get anything out there wise, local wise? Because I didn't do none of that shit.
Yeah, it's a good indicator. It can help you like raise and rank in rankings. It's not like the most important thing, but a lot of those are similar to backlinks for the most part.
Gotcha.
Actually, one thing I will say is that the more local a business is, the more beneficial that backlink is going to be for us, for these smaller businesses, right? So it's like, would I rather have something that's all the way in Seattle saying that I'm a good wedding photographer that's maybe bigger? Or would I rather have 10 small businesses linking back to me, or maybe the Chamber of Commerce or whatever, that's still going to have a decent domain authority score, but is going to be so relevant to my town? I'd probably have those smaller businesses doing it. So I wouldn't ignore it entirely. I also, I never spent billions of hours doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, definitely like deep dive into it.
Noted.
Cool. Well, if you guys enjoyed watching this, hit that like and subscribe button, and check out the description. I will have a sign up sheet if you guys want to do more of these there. And that is TJ, if you will, as you've switched it back and forth over the year and a half.
Listen,
thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me, dude.